Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1429. It's Monday, everybody. Whew! Merch Monday. Wear your merch. Look at Kaustubha representing. Mara is representing. That's pretty good. That's like 75% of us representing. I'm representing Gajendra Yoga here. This is, and Lori Pag's representing. Thank you, Lori. Take a picture of yourself and post it with your Wisdom of the Sages merch, or just walk around town wearing it. And you never know. Someone's going to come up and it's like, what is that interesting sweatshirt all about? A daily yoga podcast. What? You might turn somebody on who needs it. Some people really need this stuff that we're doing on a regular basis. Good morning, Kaustubha. How are you? How was your weekend?
It's good, Raghunath. How about you?
Good. Back from New York City. Back
right.
a little late.
Back at the farm.
A little bit under the weather. One of the chickens is missing. This is stuff we
Well,
deal
that
with
chicken,
on a regular
that
basis.
chicken has been missing regularly. It's got a double life. It's
It's an
living.
adventurous little bird, I think.
Hopefully not too adventurous. But anyway, it was good hanging out with my mom. I thought my mom would be. I thought, I felt like it's neat time to check in with my mom.
Check in.
And I checked in, and she's doing great. I think she's doing better than me.
She doesn't need you.
I don't think she needs it. But she has accepted her age.
Okay.
Like she thought she was a year ahead. And I was like, Mom, you're 97, about to be 98. She's like, okay, all right. I thought I was 98, about to be 99. I was like, I know it can get confusing at this point in your life, but you still got. If you want to make it to 100, you got 2 more years left. But she told she was telling she sat down Mara and told her a bunch of stories while I took a nap. And I was like, oh, Mara's getting an earful right now.
I did. It was great, though.
Yeah, enlightening stuff.
She shared some wisdom?
Not exactly.
She did date a mafia guy who got
murdered.
Who got whacked. It's a great story, but not enough time on the show to share it. And I think we can get whacked if we share it, actually. The snitches get stitches. But it's a true story. But she's got a million of these great stories.
Yeah, she does. It was great.
Yeah. She even had some new ones I haven't heard. Like some of the old, everything, like the old neighborhood. And anyway, that's what our weekend was like. Then we had a romantic walk on the High Line and over the Brooklyn Bridge. And
romantic.
It's romantic.
You're zipping all over the place. It was like you're like a tourist there or something like that. I saw your photos. You went up that place on the west side that I've never even been to, that big building.
You've never been to the High Line Park?
No, High Line I've been to, but there's that other building like way over on the west side that's on the High Line. Had to shut down because people were jumping off of it.
Oh, really? That's on the High Line too. And you know what, Kaustubha, we were on that High Line. We were like, you know what? We got to tell Kaustubha that this is better than Central Park.
Oh, give me a break.
And he was like, oh, we knew we were going to say that.
Little thing.
But it's better, actually. It's actually become a better place.
You can have it. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just a skinny little thing,
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
All right.
Anyway, happy Monday.
Do we have other announcements?
Rago just stole my announcement about Merch Monday.
It's Merch Monday. Wear your merch.
That's it.
Also, we just want to reiterate on the Wisdom of the Sages retreat. That Friday is Bhakti Recovery Day with Jiva G is going to be here. So if you're thinking about coming to the retreat, you may just want to come,
What's the date on that?
8 hours early. That's
October 11th.
Okay.
And so Jiva G's here, and she's valuable. She's very valuable. And we're looking forward to that. We had a great interview yesterday. We missed you, Kaustubha.
You didn't miss me, Raghunath. Just tell the truth.
I didn't really miss you, but I like you.
No, you didn't.
I do like you, and I love you.
Okay, I actually check on you. You don't know this, or if I check. I check in.
You're like listening to the podcast, like he doesn't.
Well, I have to download it to get the image for the thumbnail.
Yeah.
So then I just go and I check at the beginning of it to see if you mention me at the beginning, like to see if you say. And you almost usually you totally
I
ignore me.
almost do.
Usually you just played like I don't exist. This time you said my co-host is in here. You you didn't mention my name. You said, my co-host or some guy.
whatever
He's
his
not here
name
today.
is not here today. And
I check up on you, Raghunath, see what he's up to.
well, usually I say it by mistake. I like because I'm just like a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at Bhakti Center. Oh, he's not here. Or I just say Kostuba, and then I have to catch myself.
Do you?
But anyway, prayers for Mahatma Prabhu. Mahatma Prabhu went into heart surgery. Did you hear about that?
No. I heard about that. It was
Very
he's
nice devotee, Mahatma.
wonderful devotee.
Yeah.
Okay, our prayers for
Okay.
him.
Let's
get into
for
it.
nugget.
a nugget.
Here's it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's our Monday nugget from Maurice Metalink.
He's
He's
got a much longer name too. It's like he's a count. Raghunath. And you want me? You'd probably find
Is he
this person.
Dutch?
He is. Let's take a look at this 1 second. I think
He's a count.
He was born in. Oh, you know what? He was born in
Dutch.
Ghent,
Ghent, Holland.
in Belgium.
Oh, close.
But isn't
Mara was
where you
born in
live also
Ghent,
called
New-
Ghent or
Well,
something?
Mara was raised in Ghent,
in Ghent.
but it's the poor man's Ghent compared to the real Ghent. The real Ghent's gorgeous.
Is it?
Y-
Well,
yeah.
Maurice Polydor
Sorry.
Marie Bernard Maeterlinck, also known as Count Maeterlinck. He was a Belgian playwright, poet, and essayist who was Flemish but wrote in French. He's the recipient of the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1911. And he was a dramatist, poet, essayist, renowned for his highly symbolic works contemplating the mysteries of human existence. He's best known among young readers for, difficult French word, Louis Bleu, the blue bird.
I tell you, man, pick one, guys. You got Holland, Dutch, Flemish. It's like pick one. What's your language here?
Netherlands.
Netherlands. How many names
you-
for this
come
tiny
on,
little
how
country
many-
can we have?
How can we figure this place out?
Can we just pick like we're in America? We speak American, okay? Keep it like that.
Can we speak American? Is that what we speak?
We do. It's different than English.
Okay, let's hear what Maurice
Speak
has
Flemish
to say.
Dutch. Okay, here's what he had to say, which was very interesting. At every crossroads on the path that leads to the future, tradition has placed 10,000 men to guard the past.
I think this is a good Makeover Monday nugget.
At every crossroads on the path that leads to the future, tradition has placed 10,000 men. Okay, so this is glorifying a positive tradition, right?
No. What he's saying is,
Explain this to me, wise man.
well, it seems to me what he's saying is we come to crossroads in life and where you have the opportunity to walk into the future, to change, to make, and he says, but whenever this sounds like it's a social, in a social context, right? But tradition has placed 10,000 men to guard the past, holding us back, right? You all right with that?
Yeah, I need you to explain it better.
What's that?
I need you to explain it to me.
I thought I'll try it again. In other words, let's put it in a social context, which my guess is that that's what he's speaking in. So, like, at every crossroads on the path that leads to the future, hey, we could go into the future and make a positive change and do things differently. Every time you come to that crossroads, tradition has placed 10,000 men to guard the past. Tradition is holding us back from evolving. Seems like that's what he's saying to me. Now, I'm not necessarily interested in it in that social context, if that was how he was using it. But when I heard this, I thought, you know what? There's a spiritual. This could be adapted into a spiritual statement. At every crossroads on the path that leads to spiritual consciousness, the mind has placed 10,000 thoughts to guard material consciousness.
Okay.
What do you think of that? Does that resonate with you?
It does. It does.
You
It
wanna
resonates with me. It's still
You just sit
resonating.
with that. Why don't you just go off for a bit and think about
Well,
that and come
I'm
back?
having a slow Monday today, Prabhu.
Okay. No, but isn't it true? Like our mind is programmed. You know, it's got its comforts, it's got its pleasures, it's got its fears. And spiritual consciousness, you really have to confront all of them. They're going to try to hold us back. You know, we'll get a picture, we'll get like a maybe even a romantic picture of what spiritual consciousness could be. You know, that's what our Instagram feeds are full of, people throwing up these, here's a Rumi quote, and here's this, and here's that, you know, how we could think, how we could live. And it appears attractive to us. But when it comes to crunch time, decisions that we make, you know, on a minute to minute basis, or what to speak of the large life decisions that we sometimes have to make, do we have the courage? Or is our mind programmed in such a way to guard us from taking that positive step forward, saying that won't be comfortable, that's not realistic, you know, we don't need that. Actually, maybe later, you know, there's so many guards for us stepping forward. You know, Gajendra found himself at a crossroads, right? He was this big, powerful elephant. He had all the opulence. Everything was great in his life. And then his life hit a crossroads.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes, you know, it's kind of thrown at us where everything's about to change. How are you going to respond? Are you going to respond the way that you always have? Or are you going to approach it in a new way, even though it may take courage, you know?
And it's hard because those things we use to medicate
Yeah.
our pain, our frustration, our loss, they themselves are, first of
What
all,
are
they're
those things?
they're what'd you say?
What are those things that we
What are
use
those things? Well, we use oftentimes people use alcohol. You know, I don't really deal with it. So, very common is food.
food?
That's
Yeah.
why when people do a cleanse or fast, they have nothing to put in their mouth to medicate their mind, and they're just left with their mind.
Walk over the
But
refrigerator.
sometimes when we do a cleanse, or sometimes we easy go to a cigarette's easy, shopping's easy, sex is easy, masturbation's easy, romance is easy, fall in love, and I don't have to deal with. You know, people do
Scrolling.
this. Scrolling's really easy; it just takes up. And some of these things are really addictive, and they really lock us down. And the problem with addictive things is they just become our go-to, and they're like deep mud. It's hard to get out of them.
So those are guards, right? Those are 10,000 guards like that.
Yeah. But positive addictive things, I'll use this word addictive too. If you take a step towards them, they become addictive.
That's
Healthy
the
things,
reprogramming of the
uplifting
mind.
things, uplifting things, the things you don't like to do, but you know they're good for you. And anyone who does yoga, or anyone who does do fasting or cleansing on a regular basis, or anyone who does restrict their diet, or anyone who does some type of exercise, or anyone who does some studying, anything to self-betterment, it's hard to do it. It's hard to show up on a regular basis, or chanting or meditation, or things like that. It's not easy to do. You get into habits. But once you get that taste for it, then that starts taking over itself. It becomes addictive and propels you, and you make these habits fun.
It
Other
becomes a positive disposition.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
And
know,
if you suffer with getting into the good habits, you got to start hanging out with people that have good habits, and you got to start
get
or
reprogrammed.
hearing from people that have good habits um, on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
have knowledge, right? Just divya gyan, spiritual knowledge. You know, in the Padma Purana,
Yeah.
there's this description that Rupa Goswami included in the Nectar Devotion. So you're familiar with it, Raghunath, because you studied it there, I'm sure.
Vacho Vegam.
No, from the Nectar Devotion, not Nectar of Instruction, Nectar Devotion. But where it talks about this cycle of karma,
Oh,
that it begins with avidya, ignorance,
mm.
and then there's the seed of desire in the heart, bijam. And that desire leads to our, let's say, well, it's called papam there, like the bad karmic action,
That's like
right?
the karmic way of explaining bad habits, isn't it? Because when you
Yeah.
do something bad, a bad choice, it just doesn't affect you for this moment. Like suppose I just drink a bottle of whiskey or something like that. Can humans drink a bottle of whiskey? I don't even know if
It's a
that's
lot to drink a whole
possible.
bottle, but
That's a lot.
been done.
Suppose you drink a lot of whiskey, and you don't just get that bad effect, but there is some tamasic pleasure you get it, even if you're vomiting, even if you're laying in the gutter. But there's some tamasic pleasure, and that tamasic pleasure plants a seed inside you to do it again.
Yeah, well, yeah. So they say the papam, it's usually translated as sin, but let's say it's like that
Yeah, we don't
darker
like that
action,
word. We
right?
don't like that word. Darker action, yeah.
Yeah, and then that leads to the karmic reaction, which has two phases or two, we have two divisions, right? Aprarabdha, which means not manifest, and parabdha, which means manifest. So there's a manifest karma will come, like it'll show up in our life in some way. Something may happen to us, or even the body itself is manifest karma from the previous life, right? It appears in a manifest way. But
Yeah.
there's also aparabdha karma. And an aparabdha can be divided into two as well. The unmanifest karma means it may just mean the karma that hasn't shown its face yet, that hasn't materialized. It's like a seed waiting to sprout, and then it comes
Sure.
and it manifests. But there's also something called kutam, which means you get the disposition. The action that we did in the past not only manifests in a concrete way, but also that's the external, right?
Yeah.
It manifests in an external way that our karma plays out in our life, but it also manifests in an internal way, which has to do with the proclivity to do the action that we just did. It becomes reinforced.
Mm.
And the more that you do it, the more that it becomes reinforced, it becomes harder to break the cycle. And our mind kind of gets programmed or colored by this disposition. And it's going to affect the way that we perceive the world and the way that we act in the world. We kind of become, we really have to think about this, If we really think about this, it really helps us understand ourselves and understand others. It helps us let go of the judgmentalism. It lets us let go of the biases, prejudices that we have, that we can understand that even the actions that others do. Like normally we say, don't judge people based on something external, judge them based on their actions. And there's truth on that. But even the actions have a lot to do with a mind that's been shaped in a particular way by their experience and by their choices, right?
And what they call themselves, and they start to identify themselves as that person.
That's mental programming.
Yeah.
And so if we can learn to see behind the mind of others, we'll see a pure soul. And if we can also on our own see that my mind has 10,000 guards in it that are trying to prevent me from reaching my higher spiritual potential, my higher nature.
So here's the three again. Parabdha means it's manifest. For example, suppose I, wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, I'm losing my hair. That's like parabdha karma. It's like you have suppose I was born with one ear lower than the other.
Okay.
That's a common thing.
That's parabdha. That's
That's
manifest.
parabdha. That's some karma that you have. One ear is just a little bit lower than the other ear. That's a parabdha
You're
karma.
hoping for nice even ears. You didn't get it.
You're hoping for nice ear. Sometimes you don't get it.
Okay.
Or you're very tall, or you're very short. That's your parabdha karma. It's manifest. You can tangibly notice it. Then there's aparabdha, which is very similar, sort of like that means like tomorrow. I don't even realize it, but there's some karma
There's a
that
seed in
I'm
you
going to
that
fall off
hasn't
my
sprouted yet.
bicycle. I'm
Yeah.
going to fall off my bicycle or get fall into
Or
the
your ears
gutter.
are going to be born uneven or whatever.
No, I'm not going to get born tomorrow. I like
Well,
like
whatever.
an accident, like say an accident. That's parabdha.
Well,
There's
okay, you may be born tomorrow, Raghunath. You don't know, right?
if I die, I get born. Yeah, but I'm just trying to make something. So aparabdha means there's some seed that's about to go off, and you don't know when it's going to go off.
Yeah.
But astrologically, oftentimes you can find, oh, something's going to happen in this period for this week. There was some health incident is going to happen. Take note of that. So that's aparabdha karma. And the aparabdha karma can be put into this disposition, you were saying, this kutam, the seed,
proclivity.
a proclivity rather, to do it again, to do to do some sinful activity again. We don't
It's-
like to say sinful because it has these Christian connotations, like God, some external force is making it happen, but it's really you and the choices you make that are creating it to happen. That's why me and Kostuba don't say sinful so much.
Yeah, but not so much.
Not so much. You
So
sinner.
in
You're a
any
sinner.
case, Gajendra in his previous life, he was cultivating a certain
Disposition.
a certain disposition, and it was
Co-
kind of lost for a long time. But when he hit that crossroad, it kind of rose to the surface of his consciousness. It came
Well,
back.
what do you mean? He was a king in a previous life, so now he's like the king of the elephants. So he
Yeah,
had that
but
same
but
disposition.
well, no, but as a king, he was like a very spiritual king. He was like reading Shastra, chanting mantras, doing all
Oh,
that
you're
kind of
saying
stuff.
as the elephant, he sort of lost it.
As the elephant, he sort of lost it. Yeah,
Sure.
but it wasn't. It hadn't disappeared. It was lying there in his subconscious, waiting to float to the top. And that's where he's at right now. He's at this crossroads. When he got when that thing bit his leg. Well, why don't we jump into it? We can do a little recap from the last verse that we read and dive into it.
I will say there's people within this community that I can sort of see that they fit into this demographic, which is they're going along with material life and somehow they get like hit with the magic wand of bhakti and they start to wake up some part of them that's been dormant and then everything falls in line like that's right. I heard this stuff, it wasn't ready, and they're completely almost as if they picked up from a previous life. And certain things that
Almost.
maybe I struggle with, they don't struggle with. Or they just click right in as if they've been practicing this for
Hmm.
lifetimes,
Sure.
like Gajendra.
Yeah, we'll hear about it now.
This Gajendra, the spiritual elephant. It could be a good cartoon, couldn't it?
That would be good.
Okay,
Although
Casper the
we could
friendly
start with
ghost.
Dumbo, right? We
He's
could
not
have had Gajendra.
Dumbo. He's smarto.
That's what I'm saying. We got Dumbo.
Yeah, we get
And
Dumbo.
kids growing up in India, they got Gajendra. So much
Yeah.
better off.
Text 30. Oh, Narayanam Namaskrityanam Chaimanarotamam Devim Saraswatim Yasam Tatojayam Madirayat. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyanaptimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmulatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Special K. Renee Jacobs has a really good question here. She says on the message board, I was wondering about this too. I don't have an answer. Maybe you do. Was Gajendra the same king in Jumna who was instrumental in the appearance of Lord Jagannath? Is that a different
I don't know
Jumna?
the answer to that.
Okay, let's put some of our pundits on that. Nityananda Chandra, see if you can find out. Is it the same king in Jumna? Maybe.
Let's think of time.
I mean, Gajendra was a long time ago. So was
But
Jagannath.
Indra was too, probably, right?
Yeah, I know.
All right. Let's get into it. So, bit of a recap, right? We had just read. What text are we on today? We're on text 32, yeah?
Yeah, 32.
So, text 31. Gajendra's at the crossroads.
All of the other elephants. All the other elephants who are my.
I was just
in text
recapping.
31.
Are you listening to me at all?
Yeah. Thought we
All right.
recapped it.
So the king of the elephants, he was under the clutches of this crocodile by the rill of providence. He's seeing it that way. He's being embodied and circumstantially he's helpless. He realizes he could not save himself from this danger. And he consequently thought for a long time. This is so important right here, right? It says that he thought for a long time. He became more introspective. He reflected. He started thinking, who am I? Am I really the king of the elephants, or is that just a role I've been playing? Right? All of this opulence that I've been living in, I've been living as if it's going to go on forever, but it's not going to go on forever. He's thinking like this.
Right.
And also, maybe most importantly, I've been living as if I'm independent, as if I don't need anyone else's shelter, as if I'm the powerful center of the universe here. But it's clearly not the fact. Clearly, I'm weak. I've always thought of myself as strong, but look how vulnerable I am. I'm going down, and I've been fighting it and resisting it, but now, so we all need to do this, right? We all need those times in life where, rather than medicate, as you were saying, Raghunath, right?
Meditate. Yeah, instead of
Oh.
medicating, meditate.
Nice, nice. Put that one on the mug. So
I think that is a mug.
So rather than medicate, he meditated. Rather than deflect, he reflected.
Ooh,
Deflecting, he was reflecting.
reflect.
So, and it was in that moment that it opened up a little bubble from the subconscious begins to rise. He begins to remember, I'm a dependent soul. I'm a little spark of spiritual energy that by nature takes shelter of the big fire. That's my source. And so with that comes his surrender. To surrender to Lord Vishnu. Okay, text 32.
The other elephants, who are my friends and relatives, could not rescue me from this danger. What then to speak of my wives? They cannot do anything. It is by the will of providence that I have been attacked by this crocodile, and therefore I shall seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always the shelter of everyone, even of great personalities.
Even the other devas, even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and so on. Prabhupada writes, he says, this material world is described as padam padam yadvi padam.
Danger at every step.
Yeah, which means that at every step there's danger. A fool wrongly thinks that he is happy in this material world, but in fact, he is not. For one who thinks that way is only illusioned. At every step, at every moment, there's danger.
I threw up a post this week, which has been describing my mind all week, maybe all month, is that when you have more years behind you than ahead of you, you start to see the world differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we got into bhakti when we were young, and back then everybody got into it when they were young. There wasn't many old people getting into it. Now I'm realizing, like, no, bhakti is actually for the old. It works really good when you're getting older because you become more reflective about life. And I find that it helps having deep spiritual insight and realizations. You start to realize life's temporality, and it doesn't make life bitter, but it definitely melts the glossiness of material existence, the shine, the sparkle of material existence, the romantic bubble of material existence. And you're not so impressed at the things that you were impressed and mesmerized by when you were 23 or 24. And we start to realize that there's many, many crocodiles on our legs and our limbs. And if they're not, we are definitely like a zebra swimming across a river. And there's crocodiles that could come out of nowhere at any minute. You realize
at any second,
At any
we
second.
are so totally vulnerable. This body is just like one just gets pierced in just a little way, or knocked just a little bit that way, or some tiny little germ.
Yeah. And it makes you really reflect on what's important, what's valuable, what do you really want, what do you really need, what's our purpose, where do we want to go. There's only finite it's hard to look at life as it has an ending. We tend to think it's like, I've got life, live your life, wake up and live and go forward. And almost like in geometry, there's like a line with an arrow at the end of it, but there's not. There's like a beginning and an end, and that's what you get that. And if you walk by a graveyard, you see it. This person was born on this day, and they left this world this day. That's you. You have a finite time on this planet. What you gonna do?
All right.
What you gonna do
Well, let's hear
in
what
this little window?
Gajendra does.
Text 32. Text
32.
32. The other elephants. Text 33. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. It was certainly not known to everyone, but he's very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of eternal time, which is fearful in force, endlessly chases everyone, ready to swallow them up. If one who fears this serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection. For even death runs away in fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great and powerful supreme authority, who is the actual shelter of everyone.
Okay, so he's come to that most powerful creature in this great forest that he's living in.
Yeah.
He's realized I'm as dependent as any other creature there is in existence. But who to surrender to? He's going to surrender to Lord Vishnu. That ends the chapter. Down to the last verse of the chapter. Ready for chapter 3?
Chapter 3, Gajendra's prayers of surrender. How
Let's
does an
dive
elephant?
in.
If you ever woke up and wonder, how does an elephant pray? Well, we have the answer for you right here. Here is one prayerful, religious, devotional, if not a pure devotee, elephant. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, thereafter, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indrajumna, and which he remembered by the grace of Lord Krishna.
Very interesting here. Right.
It was already in him.
It was already in him. It was there. But it didn't come up until this moment. And it's so interesting. It says, Evam vyavasito buddhya. That's almost like Bhagavad Gita verse right there, like vyavasayatmaka buddhi, right?
The focused intelligence.
Yeah, fixed intelligence. Evam vyavasito buddhya samadhaya manohridi. That he fixed his mind in his heart in samadhi, right? With perfect intelligence.
This is samadhi.
Just imagine his challenge in that moment, that he's got a crocodile on his leg. He's been fighting it for a long time. He spent a long time fighting it, resisting it. I can beat this crocodile. I can get out of this and life will go on just like it always has.
Sure.
But now he has to surrender. He's realized, I can't win. And he's still got the crocodile on his leg, but he's exhausted. And he goes into this yogic state. Like it said he thought a long time in the previous verse. He was reflecting. Here it says that he fixed his mind in his heart. He went internal. He went deep inside. And in that heart, he can find the self, and you can also find the super self, the super soul. Right?
We hear the story again and again in the Bhagavatam too. It's this on the brink of disaster, trying to use every resource they have, and finally there's a surrender. We see it with Draupadi throwing her hands up. She's trying to ask the politicians, her husbands, the people, the community, the king, the great sages. No one's there to help her, and finally she reaches up to Krishna.
Then you surrender.
Right? We see it with grandfather Bhishma. He's fighting on this battlefield. He's at the edge of his life. Finally, they're just like, okay, this is it right now. Bring Krishna to the front so I can meditate on him. Again and again. This is our struggles in this world. We go through, and certain things like we overcome, and sometimes we'll throw some credit. We'll give some credit to God. Oh, thank God for that. Thank God I got through that. Thank God we made it through that sickness. I thought I was going to go down. Thank God. But then actually we get to this point where
yes, you only have so many of those.
You only get so many of those before that crocodile is going to come. And
Yeah,
even then we have to realize actually God's had control this whole time. And now I'm just going to connect with God, and then I'm going to lose my body.
Mm.
But
Why
I'm gonna
don't
stay
you
with God.
Why don't you read the commentary, Raghu?
Of two?
Yes, of one. It is
Of
one.
one? Okay.
831.
In this verse. Oh,
Oh.
okay. Such Bhagavad Gita. So he's quoting Bhagavad Gita.
Such remembrance is described in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. You want the Sanskrit? Tatra tamburi samyogam labate pauravam dehikam yatate chatatobuya samsido kurunandana purvabhyasena tanaiva hriyate yavasopisaha. In these verses, it is
The
assured.
translation, I can give you the translation.
Yeah, please.
So this is from the 6th chapter when Arjuna says, what happens if I practice yoga, try to become a yogi, but I don't succeed in it? Then I die. You know, like I haven't been successful materially. I haven't been successful spiritually. You know, I've got
Imagine that
nothing.
you gave your whole life, you lived in an ashram or a nunnery. Is that what it's called? Where a nun lives, a nunnery?
Nunnery.
Or you go become a priest, you become serious about your spiritual life, but you're just not super evolved yet.
Didn't
And you
make
just
it.
die untimely. Have you wasted your life? Like, I
Yeah.
didn't party. I didn't go out there and have a good time. At the same time, I'm not like the head monk or the head priest. What happens to me then,
I don't
Kastuba?
think it's necessarily a question of becoming the head monk or priest, but
Or
developing
the most
that
spiritually evolved.
deeply. Okay, so Krishna says that's not an issue here, Arjuna, because on the spiritual path, what you gain, you don't lose. Even when you die, it stays with you, right? So he says, he describes they'll take in the next birth, you'll reap the benefit of all you invested in this birth. So he says, on taking such a birth, the birth of a yogi who hadn't completed the path, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O Arjuna. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. All right, so Prabhupada's bringing that up in context of Gajendra because he appeared like a materialistic elephant externally, but underneath there's this past, and it's sitting there in his subconscious. The type of thinking that he used, the way that he used to think, is kind of like in a capsule down underneath. But please continue in these verses.
In these verses, it is assured that even if a person engaged in bhakti falls down, he's not degraded, but is placed in a position in which he will in due course of time remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained later, Gajendra was formerly King Indrajumna, and somehow or other in his next life, he became King of the Elephants. Now, Gajendra was in danger, and although he was in a body other than that of a human being, he remembered the stotra he had chanted in a previous life. Yatate cha tato bhuya samsido kuru nandana. To enable...
That's the part where it was saying that the past kind of rises up in him. You know?
Yeah. To enable one to achieve perfection, Krishna gives one the chance to remember him again. This is proved here, for although the king of the elephants, Gajendra, was put in danger, this was a chance for him to remember his previous devotional activities so that he could immediately be rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
You're going to like this part, and I think this next part.
It is imperative, therefore, that all devotees in Krishna consciousness practice chanting some mantra. Certainly one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the Maha Mantra, or great mantra. And also one should practice chanting the Chintamani Prakarasad Mashu, or the Nishringa Stotra. Ito Nishingo Parato Nishingo Yato Yato Yamita To Nishingha. Every devotee should practice in order to chant some mantra perfectly, so that even though he may be imperfect in spiritual consciousness in this life, in his next life, he will not forget Krishna consciousness, even if he becomes an animal. Of course, a devotee should try to perfect his Krishna consciousness in this life, for simply by understanding Krishna and his instructions, after giving up this body, one can return home back to Godhead. Even if there is some fall down, practice of Krishna consciousness never goes in vain.
It's of a different nature, right?
We've seen that happen, huh? We've seen that happen with people who leave Krishna consciousness They never leave. Krishna just gives you a long leash, a short leash, or a very long leash.
Yeah.
But it's like you're hooked in there, and it's hard. It's hard to get away from Krishna once you develop the taste, and once Krishna's developed an extra affection for you due to your devotion.
It might just take a certain circumstance to kind of wake it up in you, right?
Sure.
You know, the way that some scars are described, you know, like that we have these impressions and they're deep within our subconscious mind, and that just like if a lake is our mind, sometimes we see in a lake a little bubble
Mm.
from down below just rises through the lake and then comes up to the surface. And so we have all these bubbles down there, right, in our subconscious mind. We don't even know all that we got. Just like we don't even know all that's on the hard drive of our computer. Sometimes we pop up something, we're like, oh, I remember that. I haven't thought about that in forever, right? But it's there on the hard drive. It's just not coming to the surface.
Mm.
But the right thing might pull it to the surface. And so Gajendra in his previous life as King Indradyumna, he was like absorbed in chanting this mantra. It was a mantra that it was a little capsule of spiritual awareness. You know, like
Mm.
this is the way that those in the spiritual realm think. It's expressed in the prayer, right? That if you think about it that way, Prabhupada's saying we should all have memorized something. Like he was quoting from Brahma Samhita, or this prayer that's a song glorifying the avatar Lord Nrsimha. But he's saying to all of his followers, all his students, you know, you should all memorize some of these songs or some of these prayers, because it's like a capsule, a time capsule in a sense, practically, right? It's a little capsule, a little nugget. It's a little capsule full of the awareness that we don't have that we're trying to cultivate.
Sure.
It's like a little drop of the spiritual realm, just like right there in a capsule, and you memorize it, and it may even go deep into your subconscious, but that capsule is still there.
Yeah.
And
Like when I
Gajendra, when
got
he
beat up
needed it
that time
most,
and I was just chanting the Brahma Samhita,
the capsule came up.
the capsule just came up. That's what came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people, it sometimes perhaps it comes from your previous life. And then things waking up. We're going through some tragedy, some loss, or maybe just some age in life. Like, what am I doing with my life? And we hear these stories again and again. Um, I was just thinking of an old friend of mine. We used to call him Mikey Prema. He sang for that band Prema, and they were little kids that used to come to the temple. Little kids, like 13, 14 years old, 15 years old. And there was a whole pack of them. And you know, they're like super Krishna conscious kids. And we had our band Shelter going. And then some of them got lost in flight. Some got more serious and less serious. But Mikey, the singer, he was bhakti. And then he disappeared. I sort of lost touch with him. And then he had some like deep spiritual recently, not, I mean,
Hmm.
I can't remember, maybe 5 years ago or something. He had deep,
So like 30 years later.
yeah, 30 years later. And you know, my brain, I just remember him as a little kid. Then he became, you know, then
Became an
life
adult.
took him in some, then he became an adult. He became taller than me, went through puberty. These were all kids pre-pubescent. I knew them. And Mikey had some like tragedy. We should get him on the show to talk about it, because it was really very interesting. He was like a mover, and his truck rolled over down a cliff.
Oh,
It was something super tragic, and his partner in the moving business got trapped under the truck, and he witnessed him die. He was thrown from
was in
the
the
truck.
truck when it happened.
He was in the truck when they both were in the truck, and they won't somehow they ran over a cliff, rolled down the hill.
Terrifying.
It was super terrifying, and I think he watched his friend trapped and die, and I think he chanted to his friend as he
Wow.
was leaving. I'm not sure if I'm getting the story right. Maybe we should get Mikey on here, who's now initiated. Because right after that, he's like, time to get serious about my spiritual life. And it's took something like this. In that sense, his friend did not die in vain. You know,
Mhm.
whenever there's a death that sort of inspires you to go higher, you should understand that that person was sent to you for a mission, and he's been tagged by God for your benefit. I see it in my own life. My father died, and that was my intense inspiration to go further on my path. So sometimes these deaths, they're not, they're actually for us. The person will make benefit and you make benefit. And we become grateful to this incredibly beautiful web that Krishna weaves behind the scenes for our spiritual evolution. And yeah, so then Mikey, he got initiated. It's an incredible story. All right, now I'm going to look him up and we're going to find him.
All right.
At least for a walk on Wednesday, he's got such a good story, and he's such a nice guy, and he's such a sincere devotee.
You know, even the capsule may come up, that bubble may rise to the surface due to being shaken up by some tragic incident like you're sharing right here, or like we're seeing Gajendra going through. But also, those capsules, we can consciously pull them up too. You know, it's like we can see, and even when we're in times of stress, you know, we can kind of reach and if when you feel, sometimes when we're in a difficult situation, we feel anger arising in us or fear arising in us, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We can consciously just reach down and pull up one of those capsules, pull up that file from the from the hard drive, bring it to the surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
And completely change the state of our awareness. Go from materially confused and upset and disturbed to spiritually peaceful and satisfied and secure. You know, and that's the more that we train the mind like that, the more that we get that predisposition. You know, the more that we engage the mind in that way, the more the mind becomes naturally that becomes its natural operating mode. You know, and there's different paths of yoga. Like in Ashtanga yoga, the idea is I'm going to reach a state of trance where my mental programming kind of shuts down. You know, in Bhakti yoga, it's like I'm going to reprogram that mind. I'm not going to shut the mind down, but I'm going to just keep putting in. I'm going to keep erasing files that aren't harmonious with my nature of pure devotion, and I'm going to keep downloading files that are harmonious with my nature of pure devotion. And I'm going to keep doing it every day until that's all that there is on my hard drive, you know, and then my mind is completely in harmony with myself, and that's called yoga, that unity between the two. And so it worked here for it worked here for Gajendra in his moment of terror.
I tell you this, Mr. K.
Yeah.
Once you get into this stuff, once you open these books, once you get a higher taste, you know too much.
You know too much.
You know too much. And nothing of the material world will be the same any longer. You cannot escape Krishna. He can give you a leash. You can try to pretend he doesn't exist, but he's always got you. And you're always going to, and to the degree you've let him in your life, I've tried to run from Krishna. I've really tried. And he just won't let me go.
Oh, you know, it's if we just, you know, you said something the other day, Raghunath, which was like after you chanted the prayers in the beginning.
Yeah. Something profound, something deep.
It was.
That
It was.
affected you.
You said
something
that
you thought about all weekend.
we don't need to keep chanting different things. We can just keep chanting the same thing, but take it deeper, take it deeper, take it deeper, right?
Oh, yeah.
It gets
deeper.
Seriously?
You took that seriously, applying it to your life? What else can I help you with? What else can I help you with?
You could help me right now by letting me finish the sentence before the show's over.
Yeah, let me lead you.
But here's the thing, right? Like you're saying, in other words, let's not just do it mechanically either. Let's do it consciously. And the way that it was worded, evam vyavasito buddhya samadhaya manohridi, fixing the mind in the heart with perfect intelligence. Think about that. Think just like slowing down and taking a capsule of spiritual knowledge and programming it deep into our awareness, you know, deep into the mind, deep into the heart, you know, consciously, very consciously. It's that kind of endeavor, you know, that where we kind of take it to the next level. We kind of break through. You live like that. You practice like that. Then when you come to that crossroads, and those 10,000 guards come forward to try to hold you back down,
Yeah.
no, you're going to move forward. You know, Gajendra, he took the step forward. I'm just, all the reality set in. I'm dependent on the beautiful Lord Vishnu, and here he comes. All right. Oh, look, Raghunath's doing it right now. Mara, look, he's going deep into his.
I am.
Great.
I
He's
am. I'm
fixing
going
his
through
mind and his
I'm going
heart
through a
with
thing where
perfect
Krishna
intelligence.
saved me. Krishna saved me in this life many times.
Yeah.
Many times.
I
Prabhu.
think Lord Shiva has too.
Mm.
Well, yeah, not just my material body. Krishna
Yeah.
saved me
Lord
when
Shiva's looking after
when
your
I
material
was
body.
running towards Maya. Krishna like stuck out his ankle and tripped me. It tripped me.
His lotus ankle.
Embarrassing, so embarrassing. These Maya embarrasses you again and again.
Does.
I got to tell you, one of these days, I got this very embarrassing story.
More embarrassing than the Calcutta Book Fair?
Prabhu, this is embarrassing stuff. Embarrassing stuff.
You want to
All
share
right.
now?
Want to share it?
Can I share? It's very humiliating. It's very humiliating.
Just make sure that it's appropriate.
It's not appropriate. It's completely inappropriate. It was at a time where I was very famous, and I just couldn't handle the fame.
All right.
And I was in London, and I don't know if either one of you know this story, so forgive me.
Oh, boy.
I was in London, and
We're all ears over here. Really.
and I mean, imagine going into a nightclub, and they're playing your song in the nightclub. Like, how cool was that for your ego?
Okay.
Like, you're playing, and everyone's like dancing to your stupid song.
and
and
you're
I was
like
just-
up in the club.
Yeah, I'm up on the club. I'm in a club in a foreign country in London, of all places. They're playing my song. I'm like the coolest guy here. They're playing my, and I was propositioned by some woman.
Okay.
And it was getting weird, and the night went on, and this person was all, I'm sharing this to everybody right now.
we realize that. Right now.
I know. Should I continue with this, or is this too embarrassing? Catherine May's like, keep going with it. Let me see the message board. If this is inappropriate message board, let me know right now.
We don't know whether it is or not until Amy says
Steller
stop.
says stop. Laura Rubino says you can't
You
stop
can't
now.
stop.
Amy Steller says your kids.
Think of your kids.
Think of your kids.
Don't stop,
Well,
stop.
It has a good story. It's got a good answer. Anyway, I was propositioned. I left the nightclub.
You left
with
the
this
club.
girl. With this girl.
All right.
And the whole time I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? That was the mantra going through my mind. What am I doing? And then walking down this street, I looked over at the street sign, and where was I? Soho Street.
Oh, you walk right past the temple.
I walked right by the no, not Berry Place, the Soho Street where the
Soho
temple
Street
is right
temple.
now. So it's like 4 a.m, and I'm walking by the Soho Street temple with some woman.
You're walking right
And I
past
just said-
the very place where
and I
Krishna
tell-
has manifested himself in this special form
I
for
know.
all the
and,
people
and
of
this
London.
woman is like snuggled on me, and I reach in my pocket and I pull out €1, and I said, "Excuse me a second. Heads Mugalartik."
Oh, it was
tails,
that time? It was like,
This woman. It was
it was-
Mugalartik. It was 4 a.m,
Huh.
and I flipped the coin. Heads Mugalartik, and I said, "Goodbye. I have to go." I went to Mugalartik. Boom.
That's amazing. Raghunath.
That's my story. I didn't think I'd share that on the show, but never made
Thank
it to the book either. I should have put that one in the book.
that was definitely book worthy right there.
I walked right by the temple, right at Mugalartik. Krishna
Wow.
saved me. Krishna
Krishna
will
gave you the
trip
coin
you.
flip too.
Krishna will trip you running to Maya.
Mm.
And that's what he loves you. He'll
Why don't you
spoil your
bring her
material he'll
into the
spoil your
Mugalartik?
material desires. Anyway.
If you're that person out there, if you're that girl and you've heard this podcast, we want to get you on a walk on Wednesday.
No, shh.
That's what he said.
I was that girl, you
How
jerk.
was that girl?
Oh.
But maybe it's changed her life in a positive way too.
Maybe she was like, "What is this mangala?"
Maybe it wasn't even a real woman. Maybe it was an apparition woman sent by the demigods to tempt me. I was like, and they were like, that was too easy. Anyway, it was humiliating. I thought I'd share
No, that
that.
story in
Maybe I shouldn't have shared it.
No, that was fine. In the book Father Sergius, a woman tries to seduce him.
How did he do?
He almost lost it. He was kind of like you. He almost lost it. You see, he was in his little hermitage, his little cabin or whatever it was, a small little hut that he lived in, and it had 2 rooms. And this woman is intentionally trying to seduce him. It's a freezing cold night, and it's a storm, and it's the snowstorm, and she's out there. Please let me in. I'm stranded out here. And he's like, "This is Maya tempting me right here. This is the material energy trying to drag me down. I know it." And then she kept begging him, like, "What kind of monk are you if you won't help me in this circumstance?"
Good point.
And then, no, but she was there for that particular. She told her friends, "I'm going to go watch. I'm going to go make him break his vows." That was her whole point. So finally, he lets her in, and she sits in the front room, and he just goes into the back room, right? But there's hardly any separation. And she's just using all of her seductive ways. She's saying things and doing things that are, all have double meanings, and just trying to get in his head. and
Would
and
you
he
like a drink?
he feels himself becoming weaker and weaker and weaker, And then he
That was
finally
me.
he stands up. This is heavy, everybody. This is gonna be heavy too.
All right.
He stands up. He walks right through that room and goes outside. And now he was like you, Raghunath. He was a wood person.
Yeah.
And so outside there's like a stump where he in a axe, like where he does his chopping.
Yeah.
He puts his thumb on the stump and cuts his thumb off.
Yeah.
And
I didn't do that.
I know it was less. You flipped a coin.
I just flipped a coin.
Okay.
I think he gets more credit.
And then he held his thumb and he walked right back through the room and walked back into the second room where he was. And when the woman realizes what he just did, immediately she felt complete shame and what have I done? Look at how serious this man is. I thought I could come and seduce him just for kicks, right? Just to show that these people aren't so deep, just to show how beautiful I am, whatever. I just came in here, and he is so determined to stay on his spiritual path that he just cut his own thumb off. She felt so ashamed of herself and so moved by his spiritual determination that she became a nun. And that girl out there right now, Raghunath, we don't know. We don't know.
Don't make fun. I tried to bear my heart. You're making fun of me now.
I'm not at all. I'm saying you're determined. She probably never had an experience like that where a guy said, "You know what? I'm going to go do something totally spiritual right now." And it may have touched her in a way that you don't know.
I don't think it did. But anyway, thanks for hearing me out.
We have to find her.
Hare Krishna. I shouldn't have said that story.
No, that was a good
Mary,
story.
takeaways, please.
Yeah, here's some takeaways. Tradition is holding us back from evolution.
It can.
It takes
Sometimes it helps us evolve, but it can hold us back too.
Yeah.
In my mind, I just wanted to adapt it, saying not necessarily. I wasn't speaking against tradition necessarily, but just our past habits may be holding us back, right? Our past thinking.
It takes courage to confront our pain and frustration in a new way. Get a taste for healthy addictions.
Raghunath is deeply thoughtful right now. Stay with us. We always lose you right here at the end.
Yeah, when you start reading the message board.
Stay with us.
Hang out with and hear from people that have good habits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meditate, don't medicate. Reflect. Yeah, and reflect, don't deflect.
Or you can flip it the other way. Why not put the positive thing at the end?
Okay.
Deflect, don't reflect.
So
don't
medicate,
reflect.
meditate.
Oh, okay.
Don't deflect.
Reflect.
Remember our dependence and surrender to Vishnu.
Remember and surrender.
Aging and spiritual knowledge melt the sparkle of material existence.
Nice.
Aging, not raging.
Or encaging.
Yeah.
We're all zebras swimming across a river of crocodiles.
Oh, zebras. Okay.
From Raghu's Instagram stories on Nature's Metal, I think.
Yeah, that's where I got it from. There was like a herd of zebras trying to cross a river.
One of them doesn't
and
make
one
it,
of the
right?
zebras like, I'm gonna try it, and like 11 crocodiles took him down. I was like, this is like the Bhagavatam come to life here.
Mm,
Practicing Krishna consciousness never goes in vain.
that's right.
Reprogram the mind daily for harmony with our spiritual nature.
Okay.
And memorize a capsule of mantras.
That's right. Memorize your soul.
Memorize. Good morning. Good
Oh,
evening,
look, we're getting those
everybody.
little Drake. Chuta gave us a little Drake. Deflect, reflect.
No, reflect. Isn't it amazing if you're used as a meme and it just becomes a meme forever? Just people like that. It gets stuck in memes. Oh, everybody, thanks for joining us on this Monday. I hope you got something out of this. If you like what we're doing, you can contribute. It's a community-supported podcast. Those who do contribute, we're grateful for you. We've tried to arrange all these treasures of classes and things you get access to once you become a community supporting member. It's a treasure trove. It's a vault. You can unlock that vault and enter into classes, workshops, meditation, sweet baby Krishnas. We try to get information and compile it just to give more back. We're trying to expand this every day. We meet at least once a week, and we text every day, and we're trying to think of ways to expand what we're doing, because we believe the best thing that you can do is give away spiritual wisdom, but it's a full-time job, so if you like what we're doing, you can support it, but also you can just do it for free and pass it on to people. Just spread this word. Thanks everybody for joining us. Good to be back at the farm. Mr. K. Billy Roth Theatre is this Saturday. Whoop!
Be there. Or be square.
Be square.
Remember the Wolfman?
Wolfman Jack?
Yeah.
I don't remember really.
Not at all?
Ooh, there's a merch
remember
table.
him.
There's
It's
a
so
Elizabeth
easy.
Page's merch table.
And next Merch Monday, everybody goes to Philly Roth Theatre. Should have listeners stages.
Good idea. Oh, Krishna.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, feeling better?
He's back.
Uh,